It's Ivy Slater, and you're listening to Her Success Story podcast, a show where gutsy businesswomen share their success journey.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Her Success Story. This is Tara Darazio. I'm a member of the Slater Success team, and today I'm here with Ivy. We are going to be talking about the 15th anniversary of Slater Success. Welcome, Ivy.
Hey, Tara, this is fun to do this with you because you've been a member of this team for quite a while, years, quite a while.
Yeah, it's been many years, and this is a chance to share kind of a little bit of the story of Slater Success and celebrate that you're coming up or have already started into the 15th year. So let's dig into it. You started this business in 2008. And tell me about it, how you started.
I started, complete disclosure, I've shared this many, many times. Midlife crisis in 2007, truly turning 45 in April, and crashed and burned and realized I was making a great living, but who am I? What am I going to be when my kids leave for college in a blink of an eye? And I was going to be a printer. And I had so many goals and dreams when I was younger. And I don't mean like at 5, I'm talking out 15 and 20 and 25. And through various things, I wanted to be a dancer. I wanted to be a producer. Things did not work out. And I ended up in the printing industry. No regrets, by the way. I'm not saying, oh, woe's me by any means, but different various opportunities presented itself, that's where my career led. And I built a great career for over 20 years and built a great business over time and made wonderful money. But I realized I was not fulfilled. And, I started looking forward as my kids were in their young teens and said, in a blink of an eye, they're going to be out of the house. And who am I going to be then? That very, very stark look in the mirror. And who am I? And I'm like, a printer? Really, Ivy? You had all these dreams. What if you allowed yourself to dream again? What could it look like?
Right. And I know that was a big leap for you and getting into coaching. And I think nowadays coaching is maybe more mainstream than it even was back in 2008, even though that wasn't that long ago. And
I have to say something on that, because when I started getting into this in 07 and 08, when we were having conversations with potential clients, it wasn't even about coaching. It was about the education of what we do with companies, with people, it was not mainstream at all. I remember sitting down on a Sunday to a family dinner, and my brother-in-law pulls out something from the New York Times and goes, "So is this what you do?" And this was probably 09 already, or even later, but still like, what is this? What do you do?
Right. So not only did you have to build a business, from scratch, yes, you had a network, but it was a completely different network. So not only did you have to do that, you had to almost educate people on why they needed it. There was needed to be awareness around it. So you started your focus on women entrepreneurs and helping them build businesses and become financially free. Why was that the goal at the beginning?
At the very beginning, I just it was important for me to help women step into their value. And really own their careers, their businesses. And I first said, I'm just going to work with women professionals. And if you've listened to my podcast or any other, and the importance of niching, that was very, very not productive. And it took me a few years to get my head on straight and truly go into what I knew. But I came from the printing industry, and I built a niche market in women in the publishing industry. Very much magazine publishing, a little bit in book, but mostly magazine. And publishing was a lower paid industry. So it gave the ability for women professionals to advance, because the men eventually moved on into companies and industries that paid better. And I had worked with a lot of women and a few wonderful men over those years. And I was just like, well, that's not right. Women should be paid equal, and women can own businesses. And when I owned my printing company, it was women weren't owners of printing companies back in the day. They were bookkeepers and receptionists and production assistants, rarely to be ever, if ever, to be a production manager. And I just said, it's time for women to really take a stand professionally based on my background. And even before I was in printing, I worked for different women business owners. And I was like, there's success out here, and I want to help women own more of it. And that's where it started from. And that's a huge, still part of my passion.
Absolutely. You wrote a book early on in those first couple of years about conquering your fear of money, which was, meant towards, women, and exactly what you talked about, stepping into their value. And then, of course, as the business grew, you took on more clients, you found yourself in different industries. So give me a little rundown of how it has evolved in these past 15 years and where you are today.
As I will say, in the early years, I had a hell of a lot of obstacles. I stumbled a lot. And I stumbled in stepping into my own value. I got in my head, and this is not that unusual. Well, I'm new at this, I can't charge. And then I'm like, but people were coming to me for my business knowledge, which I was not new at. And it took me a while to turn that around. And so early on, I was working with a lot of early stage women-owned businesses. And as I grew, and I said, my brain likes to, is like, loves to expand in the sense of business and how we scale businesses and get bigger and bigger. And so my clients naturally started getting just not women entrepreneurs starting businesses, but established businesses. And people say to me, do you work with men? I was like, I almost have as many men clients as I have women clients. But in my heart of hearts, you see us market a lot to women in business and talk about it. Yet there's an enormous, and if you look at the whole diversity and inclusion movement in the last few years and how that has come to light, there's a huge piece of my heart that goes for this underdog in any sense and form, and how we create quality and equality and opportunity and scaling and growth. So now, I work with an enormous amount in the professional service space, and a ton in the legal area, in the financial area, marketing and advertising, and various different streams in finance, and a few other industries. And it's truly in coming to helping companies really perform at their top tier to scale.
Right. You also wrote another book a few years ago, which was on relationships, which has always been a cornerstone of what you do with your clients and how you've grown your own business with your powerful network. You're in the midst of writing another book, which will be your third. So that's exciting. And that will be more focused on leadership. And I think you've expanded so much your personal brand as far as you started a podcast, Her Success Story that you're listening to right now. Listeners, Ivy does a LinkedIn live show. She speaks all over the country. She does training. So how has, stepping into all of that also helped you not only personally, but also as you help your clients?
It's very much what I tell my clients is growth does not sit in your comfort zone. Tara, you remember when we first explored doing this podcast in what was it, in 2016? And I said, absolutely, and we did a course on it and the whole thing. And then I said, absolutely not doing it. I'm done. And then somebody on our team later in 2017 said, hey, I think we should revisit it. And, I threw it out, and then I was like, okay, I need to listen, and I might not be comfortable. I might not want to do this, but why are they telling me? Where would this an asset in the company and the brand? And it's consistently being willing to not live in a comfort zone. Because I was like, how am I going to fit this in time-wise? And who wants to listen to me? And what do I know? And all those things that I had to put aside to see the value of saying, gee, what would it be if we talked to a lot of leaders? What would it be if we interviewed people and heard their stories? And now I interview people on the podcast, and I interview people on stages, and I do that. It's become a piece of this brand. So right. that has been amazing. And I think it's important. I know, and my team, Tara and Star, push me to this day. When they see me pull back on something, they poke at me. They're like, whoa, why are you pulling back? And it's important to have people who support you that do that.
Speaking of team, you've always been fully remote since you started the business. You've had various team members all over the place, even international. Mm-hmm. And I know navigating COVID was not easy for you, but definitely you were able to help people that weren't navigating remote teams at that time. So I know that was good for you. Any COVID, any knowledge you got over that time that you want to share?
A ton. So I'll do it on a short story of our team put together, if I'll say, an incredible business strategy in the fall of 2019 for 2020, and then COVID. And instead of like putting our head in the sand, we leaned in and listened to people. People got scared in business. There was like, what's going to happen? What is this going to be like? And instead, so we just started putting on free, visionary leader calls and just bringing business leaders together to have discussions. No charge, no must, no fuss, just opened it up and started leading conversations. And, I don't think it's about pivot. I think it was about opportunity and about service. And we came from a place of service. And my strong belief is if we keep talking business will be okay. If we put our head in the sand, we're going to have problems. And so on that basis, we ended up building out roundtables and building out several years of programming that was not in the plan. And then we just kind of put that 2019, incredible plan into place for 2023.
Yeah, well, you've done a lot of amazing work in the past 15 years, and I know that people can learn more about you on your site or through the podcast or in our blogs. Just a quick, tell us what we can expect in the future before we wrap up.
You're going to see more interviews with really great leaders. We're talking to a variety of different areas this year that we're looking to learn from, and so our clients, our listeners can learn from it, from the venture capital and PE. We have several clients going through different forms of M&A and in various different ways, and taking that level and also looking at, legacy and succession and the importance of that in the plan are some of the highlights that I see bringing forward in our interviews and conversations this year.
Well, we're excited to watch your growth. I know I am. I'm glad to be a member of this team. So thank you everyone for listening, and stay tuned as we celebrate more on our 15th anniversary this year.